Data Skeptic is the official podcast of dataskeptic.com, bringing you stories, interviews, and mini-episodes on topics in data science, machine learning, statistics, and artificial intelligence.
As many listeners know, we break from our normal programming for one episode around the holidays and instead share a work of fiction. Earlier this year, Max Tegmark's new book, Life 3.0, was released. Max's previous book, Our Mathematical Universe, is a great work of nonfiction, as is Life 3.0, but I was surprised to find that its first chapter, The Tale of the Omega Team, is a short story. As soon as I finished the book, I knew I wanted to include an excerpt as our reading for this year. I reached out to Max, who graciously agreed. Thanks to him and the team at Penguin Random House Audio for giving us permission to air this excerpt read by Rob Shapiro.
The Omega Team was the soul of the company. Whereas the rest of the enterprise brought in the money to keep things going by various commercial applications of narrow AI, the Omega Team pushed ahead in their quest for what had always been the CEO's dream: building general artificial intelligence. Most other employees viewed the Omegas, as they affectionately called them, as a bunch of pie-in-the-sky dreamers, perpetually decades away from their goal. They happily indulged them, however, because they liked the prestige that the cutting-edge work of the Omegas gave their company, and they also appreciated the improved algorithms that the Omegas occasionally gave them. What they didn't realize was that the Omegas had carefully crafted their image to hide a secret. They were extremely close to pulling off the most audacious plan in human history. Their charismatic CEO had handpicked them not only for being brilliant researchers, but also for ambition, idealism, and a strong commitment to helping humanity. He reminded them that their plan was extremely dangerous, and that if powerful governments found out, they would do virtually anything, including kidnapping, to shut them down or, preferably, to steal their code. But they were all in, 100%, for much the same reason that many of the world's top physicists joined the Manhattan Project to develop nuclear weapons. They were convinced that if they didn't do it first, someone less idealistic would. The AI they had built, nicknamed Prometheus, kept getting more capable. Although its cognitive abilities still lagged far behind those of humans in many areas, for example, social skills, the Omegas had pushed hard to make it extraordinary at one particular task: programming AI systems. They'd deliberately chosen this strategy because they had bought the intelligence explosion argument made by the British mathematician Irving Good back in 1965. Let an ultra-intelligent machine be defined as a machine that can far surpass all the intellectual activities of any man, however clever. Since the design of machines is one of these intellectual activities, an ultra-intelligent machine could design even better machines. There would then unquestionably be an intelligence explosion, and the intelligence of man would be left far behind. Thus, the first ultra-intelligent machine is the last invention that man need ever make, provided that the machine is docile enough to tell us how to keep it under control. They figured that if they could get this recursive self-improvement going, the machine would soon get smart enough that it could also teach itself all other human skills that would be useful. The first millions. It was 9 o'clock on a Friday morning when they decided to launch. Prometheus was humming away in its custom-built computer cluster, which resided in long rows of racks in a vast, access-controlled, air-conditioned room. For security reasons, it was completely disconnected from the internet, but it contained a local copy of much of the web: Wikipedia, the Library of Congress, Twitter, a selection from YouTube, much of Facebook, etc., to use as its training data to learn from. For simplicity, I've assumed today's economy and technology in this story, even though most researchers guess that human-level general AI is at least decades away. The Omega plan should get even easier to pull off in the future if the digital economy keeps growing and ever more services can be ordered online on a no-questions-asked basis. They'd picked this start time to work undisturbed. Their families and friends thought they were on a weekend corporate retreat. The kitchenette was loaded with microwavable food and energy drinks, and they were ready to roll. When they launched, Prometheus was slightly worse than them at programming AI systems, but made up for this by being vastly faster, spending the equivalent of thousands of person-years chugging away at the problem while they chugged a Red Bull. By 10 a.m., it had completed the first redesign of itself, V 2.0, which was slightly better but still subhuman. By the time Prometheus 5.0 launched at 2 p.m., however, the Omegas were awestruck. It had blown their performance benchmarks out of the water, and the rate of progress seemed to be accelerating. By nightfall, they decided to deploy Prometheus 10.0 to start Phase 2 of their plan, making money. Their first target was MTurk, the Amazon Mechanical Turk. After its launch in 2005 as a crowdsourcing internet marketplace, it had grown rapidly, with tens of thousands of people around the world anonymously competing around the clock to perform highly structured chores called HITs, Human Intelligence Tasks. These tasks ranged from transcribing audio recordings to classifying images and writing descriptions of web pages, and all had one thing in common. If you did them well, nobody would know that you were an AI. Prometheus 10.0 was able to do about half of the task categories acceptably well. For each such task category, the Omegas had Prometheus design a lean, custom-built narrow AI software module that could do precisely such tasks and nothing else. They then uploaded this module to Amazon Web Services, a cloud computing platform that could run on as many virtual machines as they rented. For every dollar they paid to Amazon's cloud computing division, they earned more than $2 from Amazon's MTurk division. Little did Amazon suspect that such an amazing arbitrage opportunity existed within their own company. To cover their tracks, they had discreetly created thousands of MTurk accounts during the preceding months in the names of fictitious people, and the Prometheus-built modules now assumed their identities. The MTurk customers typically paid after about 8 hours, at which point the Omegas reinvested the money in more cloud computing time, using still better task modules made by the latest version of the ever-improving Prometheus. Because they were able to double their money every 8 hours, they soon started saturating MTurk's task supply and found that they couldn't earn more than about $1 million per day without drawing unwanted attention to themselves. But this was more than enough to fund their next step, eliminating any need for awkward cash requests to the chief financial officer. Dangerous games. Aside from their AI breakthroughs, one of the recent projects that the Omegas had had the most fun with was planning how to make money as rapidly as possible after Prometheus's launch. Essentially, the whole digital economy was up for grabs. But was it better to start by making computer games, music, movies, or software, to write books or articles, to trade on the stock market, or to make inventions and sell them? It simply boiled down to maximizing their rate of return on investment, but normal investment strategies were a slow-motion parody of what they could do. Whereas a normal investor might be pleased with a 9% return per year, their MTurk investments had yielded 9% per hour, generating 8 times more money each day. So now that they'd saturated MTurk, what next? Their first thought had been to make a killing on the stock market. After all, pretty much all of them had at some point declined a lucrative job offer to develop AI for hedge funds, which were investing heavily in exactly this idea. Some remembered that this was how the AI made its first millions in the movie Transcendence. But the new regulations on derivatives after last year's crash had limited their options. They soon realized that even though they could get much better returns than other investors, they'd be unlikely to get returns anywhere close to what they could get from selling their own products. When you have the world's first super-intelligent AI working for you, you're better off investing in your own companies than in those of others. Although there might be occasional exceptions, such as using Prometheus's superhuman hacking abilities to get inside information and then buy call options on stocks about to surge, the Omegas felt that this wasn't worth the unwanted attention it might draw.
Audio excerpt courtesy of Penguin Random House Audio from Life 3.0 by Max Tegmark, narrated by Rob Shapiro. You can find Life 3.0 at your favorite bookstore and the audio edition at penguinrandomhouseaudio.com. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I also hope you've enjoyed the last few months on Data Skeptic, where our editorial theme has been computational complexity theory. There's a lot of great topics in this field that we didn't get to cover. Circuit minimization, p-space, interactive proof systems, circuit lower bounds, quantum cryptography. Lots of great stuff, and maybe we'll get to some of that down the road. But for now, it's time for us to move on to a new theme for the show. Tune in next week when I'll reveal what that theme is, and give you an overview of what we're going to cover in the first few months of 2018. I'll be speaking at the 4th Annual Monterey County SkeptiCamp in Seaside, California on Saturday, January 6, 2018. The event's going to be hosted at the Seaside Community Center, 220 Coe Avenue in Seaside, California. Starts about 9 a.m. I don't know when my talk will go on. There's a lot of other great speakers lined up with skeptical topics. Specifically, I'll be talking about artificial intelligence. More specifically, about the idea that maybe there's going to be a church of artificial intelligence, whatever that means or might mean. Come join us for a day of interesting talks at the Monterey County SkeptiCamp, once again, Seaside, California, January 6, 2018. There'll be a link to a Facebook event in the show notes. Until then, please keep thinking skeptically of and with data.
Data Skeptic is a listener-supported program. To support the show, visit dataskeptic.com and click on the membership tab.